he is, receiving his gold Logie from Peter Graves. And it was a great night, not only for Mr. Crocker himself, but also indeed for television, because it did recognise one of the most versatile performers that Australian television has produced. And he's with us this morning. Please welcome Mr. Barry Crocker.
Okay. Good to see you, Barry.
I mean that too, in versatility, because I suppose that television is one industry in which you don't see a lot of versatile people in terms of performers. They usually channel themselves in one direction, don't they?
More so now, I think, because, you know, it's the whole business has changed around people who sort of created. In those days when I started, as with yourself, you know, you sort of had to do everything. It was a great training ground to sort of go out there and learn to compare shows and sing songs, tell jokes. Where today, I mean, a star is made through a soapie or whatever. They're sort of categorised into one section, which is a shame in a sense. Yeah.
How did you start out, Barry, in your illustrious career?
Well, it was all to do with Geelong. It came about from sex, you know, desiring this girl in the chorus of the Geelong musical comedy. It's true.
You see, that in itself is unusual for television, too.
Yes. There's no sex in television anymore. No, that's how it all started, really. I mean, I was a professional bike rider at the time in Geelong, if you can call, you know, a 16-year-old gangly sort of youth. I had that wonderful age when my face was erupting and so were my pants. It was a bit like that, you know. No, it's true, you can be honest. I was sort of trying to be a sportsman, and I didn't have the body for it, really, and cycling was about the only thing I could do. And I fell in love with my to-be wife eventually, and I had to go into the Geelong Musical Comedy Company and audition for the chorus, and I did. I just found that I could sing, and that was the start of it. Once I put the old grease paint on, I'd gone, you know.
When did you discover you had this amazing ability to imitate people?
Well, that sort of started early, I think, because at school, you know, I used to do the Tarzans and all the actors and so forth. I used to get in trouble in school, of course, in class. And so it was something that was in my ear all the time, you know, and rather than fight, I'd make a funny noise at school. So it was there right from the... I don't know where it came from, because no one in my family were in show business or in any sense. I had a grandfather who was a bit of a drunk, and they told me that when he used to get smashed, he used to sing, you know, at the drop of a hat, and he had quite a pleasant voice when he was drunk, but he couldn't sing sober. So that's about the only key to my life, is someone in show business. But so somewhere in my ear, it was there, you know.
That'd be no good for you, would it? Because you don't drink. You wouldn't, I mean, if you had to drink to be successful in your singing, you just wouldn't work.
Well, I had my period of drinking, you know.
Did you?
Oh, yes.
When was that?
Well, when you were drinking, and you taught me how to drink, and...
I can never remember having a drink for you. I do recall... I recall one day flying back from Sydney after a show, and I made the mistake, and by God, I still think of it occasionally. I lit a cigarette in the plane beside Mother Crocker here, and all of a sudden, I reckon from Albury to Melbourne, I got this lecture about not smoking, not drinking. I think actually even at that stage of the game, you weren't too interested in sex.
After 5 children, what do you think? Of course, you know. No, I remember you, you're 18 years old, and we're driving down St Kilda Road with Danny Sowden in my lovely car that I had.
That wasn't me, that was my father.
Yes, and you demolished my car, I remember.
Did I
yes,
really?
It finished up halfway along St Kilda Road. I'm writing the book, by the way. It is in the book.
That.
Yes, you were having fun.
I have no recollection of that, Barry. You're not taking lessons from Ernie Sigley, are you? You bring up these amazing stories I don't remember.
It was like my car was strewn right along St Kilda Road. It was a wonderful night, Bert.
What sort of car was it?
It was a Bitzer.
Right.
It had made... I bought 108 pounds, I remember, and I was driving down Elmer Road one day, and the front wheel came off. I remember that. I said, oh, that's interesting. There's a wheel going by. Isn't that interesting? Then slowly my car sunk to the ground. Did you do the nuts on that time?
I don't think so, no.
But we had a lot of fun in that. You don't remember a great deal about it, and this is one of the reasons that I...
No, really wonderful. I think actually we'll have to drop the song. You're starting to tell lies and get nasty. Barry, the song you're singing this morning is a lovely ballad, and you... In your care, a ballad is always in terrific company. Give us the background of this song.
Well, this is one of the songs that we used to sing in the cabaret days of Melbourne.
I don't remember those either.
But you were there. Believe me, you were there. And it was the sort of song that you always you pulled into the centre of the show. You sat on a stool.
A barroom song.
A barroom song, and you had a drink of supposed whiskey, because in those days you couldn't sell whiskey. It was in a coffee cup, as you remember.
I remember that bit.
5 shillings a pot.
Yeah.
And you'd put coffee in.
4 and 6.
Yes, and you'd have a cigarette. A cigarette in your hand, and you would sing this song, and it was always about the girl that got away, and we'd lament as youths about this fabulous romance that we'd had. It was all lies then, but now, of course, I can relate to it. It's a beautiful song.
OK, just as you're about to sing it, I've got to ask you your memories of that particular night in 1970 when you won the gold.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of memories about it because at that
You were
stage,
drunk too, were you?
No, I wasn't. But I was working so hard at that time because of the success of Sound of Music. I remember that I had to leave immediately the next morning. I couldn't even go to the party afterwards because I had so much on my plate. And it's a shame because if you're going to win an award, you should be able to sort of relax and get drunk and fall over like many of our friends did. I remember that very well-known lady who was lying outside the door of one of the suites and who was well-known on television these days, and she was lying down. I said, "Oh, are you all right?" She said, "Yes, I'm terrific. If you see my husband in there, tell him I'm ready to leave." And that's... So that was the sort of...
Can you name names?
That. No, I can't.
Thank
because, you know her, and we all know her, but
and we love
she
her.
wouldn't like that. Yes. We love her.
OK, she may be a guest a little later on the show, actually. We've got a little couch over there for her. But if you'd like to make centre stage, it's great to see you. Thanks for doing the show.
Which way shall I go?
Just right across.
Straight through. OK.
But I really am very sorry about that memory thing. Fortunately, it's cleared up over the years, so everything's under control now. A little later on the show, by the way, one of our special guests is Barry Crocker, who's going to join us, and we look forward to welcoming Barry to the show. Here is Bazza with Angel Eyes.